Hello everyone, your voice here, and welcome to our channel Sansevieria 101. So for this episode, we're going to add another episode for the species. We have featured the parva species previously, and although it is a cultivar, I am going to include it on the species playlist because parva has very few cultivars of its own. So for parva, in fact, I only have two cultivars with me, namely the first one that I have featured. This is the parva gilt edge, and what I am featuring to you right now is known in the market as Sansevieria parva white Lancet. So parva is the species, white Lancet is a trade name, and it's a cultivar name. I could give you a brief origin of this cultivar. It was published back 2002, so it's already 22 years have passed, and during that publish, it was known by the name, or published with the name, Sansevieria parva White Variegated. So it is true that it is white, and the white are variegations. So that is a factual name. Um, in fact, although I would favor the other name, which is known in the trade name or the market right now, which is parva white Lancet, because of the tips of it, because they look like white lances. Uh, as you can see, these are the tips of the parva species, and we have also discussed it during the previous episode for the parva gilt edge. Folks, you might find it ironic that I don't have an original parva species, because I can do with regards to that, or the reason why I do not have the green form, is that I can always leaf propagate the cultivars, especially the parva gilt edge, to get the original species, which is just the common parva, which is the green form of the species itself. So I didn't bother to get an original species of parva. There are a lot of parva that were collected in the wild by Pefnig Horst. I'm not sure if I pronounced that name correctly, but he has collected a lot of parvas. I think there are about 10 that were collected from different locations in East and West of Africa. So going back to our discussion though, I am emphasizing the leaf tips. They are looking lance-like, and I find them very attractive and beautiful because unlike Trifasciatas, they're not brittle. So when you touch the leaf tips, they bend, so they're sturdy, they're not brittle. Like when you touch the tip of Trifasciatas, they will immediately break. And Trifasciatas would usually have subulate tips just this long compared to the long subulate tips of the parva species. So going back to what we're featuring, they also have subulate tips. Actually, I admire the beauty of it. That's how it looks like. Let me describe that there are green streaks on them. So the white is like the whole base color of the leaf itself. Although in reality, it should be the green that is supposedly the base color of every plant. So for me, surprisingly though, in my experience of growing Sansevieria parva white Lancet, or if I were to be really formal in describing it or calling it, it should be Sansevieria parva white variegated, because that is the first published name So that should be in the records, and that should be the correct or the accepted name in the Sansevieria Society or in the journals. Um, and truthfully, it is variegated with white color. So the greens on it are very minimal. The greens are staying on the sides of the leaf. Those are the actual coloration of the plant itself, supposedly. Those are the ones giving life to the plant. They are the ones carrying the chlorophyll for the plant to get a food or make food for themselves in order for them to grow. And the white part, although it is very attractive to many people, and they would rather buy something that is with variegations or extreme variegations of white and yellow. uh, my take on it is that they are really not helping the plant itself in terms of growth and health, because they do not contribute into making food for the plant. But that's my own take. Although I find these cultivars that are highly variegated very attractive. I love them. In fact, this one is a favorite of mine, but I'm very choosy. I just have several types of Sansevierias that are highly variegated because I can't afford to have hundreds of Sansevierias that are variegated. Uh, with the saying, if I don't know if you have heard saying that when it rains it pours. So it's like saying that if you have hundreds of variegated Sansevierias, if one of them would act up, I'm sure that most of them will be acting up. So I'm trying to avoid that kind of stress. I'm just having selected types of highly variegated Sansevierias. That is why I am very choosy when regards to purchasing or collecting variegated ones, because if we're just collecting, I would rather collect the green ones so that they can grow in clumps. I can observe how they really uh, behave when they are not cultivated, because the ones that are variegated are already considered as cultivars, or they were cultivated or selected from hundreds of green forms of Sansevierias, and they were selected and they were grown, especially because they attract the market itself. So if you have beautifully colored plants, then more or less people would be going, or they will be purchasing those plants for sure. So going back, I think was able to already give you a brief description. By the way, um, it was published back 2002, and it was during the earliest days of the Sansevieria journals from the International Sansevieria Society, and you can find information about this in Sansevieria number 3, that is May 22nd, that was published, and the name of it is Sansevieria parva White Variegated. You wouldn't find records of Sansevieria parva White Lancet, because that is a trade name. If you're looking into the records, you should look for Sansevieria parva White Variegated to find this. So going back, I've given you the reference, so if you want to check the records of what I'm talking about, you could always apply for membership or ask a member of International Sansevieria Society to walk you through into how to find information about them. So going back, I have had this plant for I think 5 years already. So during the 5 year time, this year was the only year that it grew offsets for me. So they're not very prolific, like I mentioned, because it is a highly variegated cultivar, and surprisingly, it's not that delicate compared to variegated Trifasciatus species. This specific parva cultivar which is Parva White Variegated, or in the market you can find it as Parva White Lancet. It is surprisingly hardy because in my experience, there are some Trifasciatas that I already lost. They are highly variegated, especially last month wherein we have severe drought. It was very, very hot in our location. Some of the Trifas acted up and I lost some of the highly variegated Trifasciatas that I have. So comparing this cultivar from Trifasciatas, if you want plants that are hardy and don't act up easily, I recommend you to have this, although this is very rare in the market. And if I may say, it's expensive as well because, like I mentioned, it's not prolific as you would imagine because it is highly variegated. It grows slowly and then it gives you offset of about 1 to 2 offset per 2 years or 3 years. In my case, in 5 years time, I only had this one offset from it. So, like I mentioned, they are hardy, and I would recommend you to get one if you're looking for something that is highly variegated and sturdy Sansevieria. So far, I had no problems with it. The only problems that perhaps you'll encounter if that is that sometimes if you overwater it, some tips would wilt out. So there are tips that I already cut. They're supposed to be long because they have wilt out. I'm not sure if I have over fertilized it, but that may be the case. This is what it would look like. So I usually would cut it, but I left one for you folks so that I can show you how it looks like when the leaf tips would wilt out. But nonetheless, aside from that, I recommend this plant because it's very sturdy. It's just that it is very rare in the market, and perhaps it is very expensive. If I were to price it, it would be in the currency of peso. It would be around 3,000 peso. So you can just convert that if you're having dollars or something else or whatever your currency. You can just convert what I mentioned, that this plant is worth about 3,000 peso from where I am. So if I were a seller, I wouldn't sell these for cheap because number one, it is very slow growing. Number two, it is not very prolific. It doesn't give you pups that often, and it is a hardy plant. So unlike Trifasciatas, I guarantee you, they will survive. Only they will survive, but if you just mess up, then I think you messed up big time, if I were to say, because like I mentioned, these are hardy, a hardy species. Parva is a hardy species of Sansevieria, and even though it's variegated, it doesn't act up easily. So in the previous video, we have measured the leaf width, and I have explained to you it as the records show, it should be very narrow leaf, about 15 millimeters or 1.5 centimeters. So again, I have the usual tool here, and since this is a highly variegated plant, you should expect that it should be smaller, thinner, shorter compared to the ones that are having more green. So from 15 millimeters, you drop down to 7.7 millimeters. So let me try if I can find a wider leaf to measure. This one is the widest, I think. So very close to 15 millimeters. What I'm reading right now is 13.3 millimeters compared to um, gilt edge, which is 14, close to 15. I was able to measure 15 the previous episode. This one is even at 17 millimeters. So I think the pup has a wider uh, leaf, but there are cases that only the first two leaves of the offset would be wider, and then the rest would be thinner. So there you go. 20.2. That's about more than 15 millimeters, and that is expected for a pup of the first few leaves, especially if they are watered generously. They would be um, as wide as that. So also we measured the leaf tips, so we'll measure this one, and in the records the normal greens would be at 70 millimeters long. What I'm measuring is just 47.3 millimeters for the subulate tips, because that is considering that we are measuring a highly variegated specimen. This one again, this one is shorter at 39.5. So again, this one is having more greens on it, and I'm measuring 70.3 millimeters. So again, we are dealing with a highly variegated specimen. So with that taken into consideration, the plant would be smaller compared on a scale to something that is having more greens on it, because as I have explained, the chlorophyll on them is lesser, so lesser ability to make food for themselves. They are smaller compared to the normal green ones that you grow. So folks, I think this is it for this episode. If you have any questions or suggestions, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. And if you like what I have presented, please like and subscribe to the channel so that I can make more content for you and educate more people. Also I would appreciate it if you people would share the channel to your friends that are taking care of Sansevierias, because what I'm doing right now is we are trying to educate more people, because there are a lot of misinformation found in the market, and also in or online. There are more published contents that are giving out false information compared to the ones that are actually having factual information on the web. So aside from that, I have nothing else to add. Thank you for watching, folks, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.